are live. Hello, Munir.
Hello, Beba.
How are you?
I'm very well. How about yourself?
I'm good. We are honored to have you here.
Likewise, I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I was waiting for this day.
No problem. Let's just wait a minute to give the time for social networks to notify people.
Let them come in. Yeah, we are waiting for you guys. Please join.
The podcast is live on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So if you're listening, welcome. Let's welcome everyone. This is Viva. I'm the community manager here at Prename, and I'm very excited about today's interview. We are truly honored to have Munir Badr with us, the visionary mind behind AEserver.com and the mastermind of Domain Days Dubai, which is the first conference in the Middle East and North Africa related to domains, hosting, cloud security, and SaaS. Today, we will talk about the intricate nuances of domain investing to the shifting sands of the MENA digital landscape. Munir brings a wealth of knowledge and insights. This conversation will provide you with all the view where the domain industry stands today and where it's headed, with glimpses into what it takes to be an entrepreneur in the domain industry. Don't miss this opportunity to gain a clearer perspective on the domain industry from one of its most distinguished leaders. Welcome, Munir.
Thank you, Beba.
We're also going to be joined by Paige Howe. Let's bring him upstage. Hello, Paige. Paige is an experienced and renowned domain investor and free name specialist advisor. Hello again.
Hello, Beba. Hello, Munir.
Hey,
I feel
Paige.
like we're taking over the airwaves, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. It's like when they hack in to the government network antenna and they just blast it everywhere.
That's the way forward. That's the only way.
Munir, can you walk us through the genesis of AEserver.com and what inspired you to dive into the domain world and when did you start?
Sure. That's one of my favorite questions. Indeed, it's pure curiosity that got me into this field and market. I started being curious about the web technologies, the internet, HTML, browsers, mobile apps. We had the first color screen Nokia 3510i, the Java games on it, the WAP internet. So I was always like playing with technology, trying to learn new things. And then I was always specifically curious about domain names. I mean, who gets to register domain names? How can someone own their own address on the internet? And back in the days, I'm talking about 2004, 2005, it was just a crazy idea to think, wow, if google.com has their own address, that's so unique. How can I have munir.com or something similar on the internet, right? And then this is exactly how I started. I remember I registered the first domain name. I got a hosting package. I got an email account, started playing around with the technologies, the tools, email clients, and so on. And then, with all these template websites where you download the template to build a website. And I remember I just stumbled upon a template for a web hosting company, a domain name registration company. I'm like, hey, let me do this. And that's actually when I registered AEserver.com. It was registered, I believe, in June 2005. And I've set up like a placeholder, maybe a 5-pager website about us, hosting packages, just looked at HostGator and all these big providers back in the days and created something similar, of course, with like a local touch where it's like, Dubai-based, UAE-based. And I left it basically available. And it was running until I started getting my first orders. But because we were in the Arab world in Dubai, in United Arab Emirates, the local domain name was .ae. So I had .ae in my portfolio, and then apparently I received an order for a .ae domain name, and the gentleman who bought it, I still remember his name. He was from the United States, and he paid up for 10 years in advance. And I'm like, wow, what do I do now? How do I register this domain name? What's the process? Who's the registry? And I went, and we had one registry. It was the ISP. And then, they had like a pen and paper process. You had to fax the document. to the registry. So I would ask my parents to drive me to the nearest stationery shop, fax something, and then rest is history. That's how I got into this industry.
So curiosity led you to this path. What about Paige? Anything similar? What inspired you?
Oh, for me, it was in many ways similar. I was working for a family office, and we had a number of companies we had invested in, and I asked myself, what is the internet? Is it something real, or is it just a nice place to go chat and hang around on and play fantasy football? And it really had me addressing, what should we be doing for each of our portfolio companies? And that led me to get domain names for them. Very similar process in '97 to what Munir described. You called Network Solutions. They sent you a bill through the mail. You had to send them a paper check that you sent back to them. But for me, I saw something that I could enter and perhaps be at the forefront of, and that there was no rules, there was no club, there was no, you had to go to a certain college, be in a certain country, be a certain sex, be a certain anything. It was wide open, and whoever could pick the best names was going to succeed. And that was really appealing to me, to be able to just apply some of my general knowledge about a lot of subjects. I could either go on a game show or I could buy domain names. And so that's what got me into domain names.
I think Beba is stuck and
we may have lost Beba. So
okay, she's back.
Sorry for the technical difficulty. Okay, so where were you guys at? I'm sorry.
I covered me getting into domain names, and I gave away all the secrets and all the coupon codes from Freename, Beba, while you were out. So
that's amazing. Okay, thank you, Paige. Let's talk about Domain Days Dubai, which, again, if you're listening, it's the first conference in the MENA region related to domains, hosting, cloud security, and SaaS. I have a quick question about the name of the event. How come you call it Domain Days Dubai and not like Dubai Domain Days?
Okay, so there is a hidden meaning behind the name, and it's maybe not even a hidden meaning. It's more of a hint for the fact that whenever I build something nowadays, and I build lots of products, I like to think global rather than local. So the brand is Domain Days, hence the website is domaindays.com. However, it's the Domain Days Dubai edition, because we look forward into building this and developing into different regions. And for now, we are eyeing the GCC countries like Saudi Arabia, Oman, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, maybe Morocco, Tunisia, because we have lots of partners in there. So I do not want to limit myself by, like one geography. The brand is global. It's domaindays.com. It's a great domain name. And here we are. It's the first edition. We call it Dubai edition. And then we see where we go next year.
That's great. That's interesting. The first edition. And we're happy to be here. Can we talk about the Middle East TLD accreditation challenges? Like, how easy was it to set up a domain business in Dubai? And I'm curious how popular domains investing is in the MENA region.
Okay, sure. I'll try to break this down into a few points. And this is actually a continuation about the previous answer that I gave you. So how I started the company, right? So it's important to highlight that I mentioned we had one registry. Well, we had the primary registry, which was the ISP. And then basically the government formed a regulator to manage the telecom sector, because we had another ISP coming up in the sector. And then they've also revamped the whole domain name system. So they opened up the so-called registrar system, where the registry accredits registrars. Any company that's can be local or global could sign the agreement, just like with ICANN basically, and start selling domain names. And that's exactly what we did. So because my name was already very known and common after sending thousands of faxes to the previous registry, they were so annoyed by those faxes, I believe, they said, okay, we have to automate the whole thing. And then they came up with this, cool standard system, EPP based. And I was one of the first individuals invited to actually sign up and become a registrar. So back in the days, it was like a home business. So I quickly set up a company. We formed a legal entity. I had some partners back in the day with me on board who are no longer there, and we've built on that. So it wasn't challenging. It was a very straightforward process, because here the government, they basically look at the best practices all over the world and they implement the best practices. So I believe they hired the Australian .au DA registry, and they did the consulting for them and the whole setup. And then actually many countries here in the region followed the same scenario, like Qatar and Bahrain recently. So they're all standardized systems, all based on EPP, all common terminologies like reseller, registrar, registrant. There is a clear policy on the website. So it's really easy in that sense. The domain name, if talking about the AE, is extremely popular. So AE celebrated a milestone of 300,000 registrations a few months ago. I believe today it's around 325,000 domain names in the zone, which makes the AE the largest CCTLD, or a country code the domain name, in the Arab world. So, and it's important also to understand that this domain name is an open zone. So any person, Page can register page.de if it's available. I doubt it's available, but you don't need to have any local presence or any documents. So that's super easy. And the last part of your question, I believe, was about domain investing. There is a domain name aftermarket that exists here in the region, both for classic GTLDs, new GTLDs, and also CCTLDs. So there are lots of sales reported from this part of the world. There are also lots of sales, I would say, in the AE domain space. I've seen sales in the QA domain space, and this field is being developed. And if you go through social media, you look, you just search around, you'll see so many domain investors actively entering these country-level domain names.
It's very interesting. We're honored to have you here again. And Paige, do you have any stories about the Middle East to share with us?
Well, I don't know if I have any stories about the Middle East, but I think that I'm in some ways envious of what Munir has there, which I believe is a thriving local market in his country with AE. And the way the domain name system was set up, that you would start in your local market, in your local country, and then as you grew globally, you would go to the .com or the .net or the .org or these other 2,000 names. But it almost gives you a chance to have two markets, your thriving local market, and then especially in Dubai, you mentioned that state or country, whatever we're going to call it, you'll have to educate me on that, seeks out the best around the world. And there's a lot of investors in Dubai who would seek out the best. And that may be in COM or some of the other traditional TLDs. Now, we never got that in the US. We just skipped over US because it was a mess. It was complicated. And so even just the little person on the street would go get a .com. But I've always been envious of whether it's Australia or Canada or UK that would have these thriving local markets, and then people would elevate into wanting to be global. And so that was one of the takeaways that I had after listening to Munir talk.
Yeah, Paige, absolutely. That's a really good point. So basically, we call the cities here like Emirates. So it's the Emirate of Dubai, Emirate of Abu Dhabi. So Abu Dhabi is the capital of the UAE, and there are in total 7 Emirates. But yeah, absolutely. And that's actually, I think, an advantage of a young country that's growing, right? They have the advantage of looking around and getting the best. And sometimes, yeah, they do make mistakes. They take something, it doesn't work, but then they can also quickly change it and go for a better solution. So that's the advantage.
And what's been interesting is I've worked with Freename is because the 2-letter country codes were given out based upon some calling prefixes back in the late 80s or something like that, that it doesn't always represent the most natural language name for a country. That's why at Freename, even though it's not a TLD in the regular route, people have been able to get .India and .China and .USA because maybe that's a better representation. It's got its challenges because it's not as part of the ICANN route. But I think geography and local have always been important in TLDs.
Definitely. That is very insightful. And touching on the point of changing with times, Munir, you've probably experienced the evolution of the domain industry over the past years. And I'm building on top of your answer. What were some of the pivotal moments that you believe shaped the trajectory?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I will answer it by saying that the whole fact that there was a community being formed on top, or running along with the domain industry. And when I say domain industry, I also mean about the hosting, the cloud, the data center industry, because all these things work hand in hand. So but by saying the community, what I mean is we were lucky actually here to have events in the region. And the first event that I actually attended and spoke at was the Middle East DNS Forum, which is a part of the ICANN. It's basically the local event that they have in the region. And the first edition was in Dubai in 2014. So of course it's a policy event, but that was really the first time experiencing a domain name event and getting the exposure, meeting other players. And then why this was a pivotal moment is that basically people would learn and network. And then, for example, I would say, okay, so AE, the CCTLD is open and restricted. So when will the neighboring countries or countries in the region take lead also and change their regime? And then, to my surprise, a few years later, you had like another country opening up its zone. And then basically they come to these events, they talk, they learn, and then they actually execute. And this is the cool thing. So everyone is looking forward to network with each other. And Dubai would actually be, I would say, a sort of a benchmark for other countries or other cities in the region to look at. So if this model is working in Dubai, then others actually look at it. So I believe this whole change that we've seen starting in the United Arab Emirates, in the city of Dubai, with the local government, it actually spread its roots across, or its influence across the region, which is, I think, one of the main moments.
That's great. So from the event from 2014 to here, that's a great evolution. Paige, do you agree, or would you like to add anything?
Well, I just think that, the evolution is the past, and then also predicting the future. If you take the assumption that most of the good names were taken 20 years ago, they're taken now. As a domain investor, I look at what are things that are changing, what are things that are emerging. I think one of the things that happened in the last couple of years is Saudi Arabia announced they were going to form this new city called NEOM. I don't know if I'm supposed to use the acronym or
NEOM.
NEOM. Yeah. And all of a sudden you had 160 TLDs taken with that name, and you had a bunch of, whether it's going to work out or not, but there is this opportunity in an area that's changing so rapidly and growing, the Middle East, North Africa, where you have new opportunities coming about. You know what I mean? Where not everything was set in stone 20 years ago. And I think that can help the domaining in that community thrive.
Definitely. It's the changes that are going right now that will shape the future. Touching on that, okay, it's a little bit touching on it because it's talking about the evolution, which is remote work. It has transformed businesses worldwide, especially after COVID. Munir, in what ways has this shift presented opportunities or challenges in the domain business, in your opinion? Particularly, everyone here is interested in hearing about the current business opportunities.
Okay, sure. So I will answer this initially from my experience, at AE Server, which is our main business, our domain name registrar and hosting business. I would say the COVID year was one of the best years for us, because if we look at our data, we look at the client sign-up rates, and then the overall revenue and everything. So I still remember I was looking at the charts, and starting from March 2020 until like the end of March, it just went up. I mean, everyone started going online. So COVID, of course, COVID was bad, but in a sense, COVID was also good in terms of fast forwarding this whole digitalization, evolution, because lots of governments and countries and people were talking, yes, we need to optimize the process, we need to go online, we need to take this online, it has to be like e-government, smart government. So there were plans, but it would take years to execute. So COVID actually accelerated this. And again, young nations, or the UAE being a young nation, they've leveraged that, they've executed really well. And basically you would see so many services, so many like government services, smart services going online, and now literally you can do everything without stepping out from your home. So this was really an important shift. And then the whole shift about people working from home, right? It's also great. So for me, or for our company, we were always, sometimes lazy to go to the office, and I was always cool with my team saying, hey, okay, you don't want to come to the office, I'm not coming today, so you can also work from home, so why not? But it was very odd and weird for this region, because in this region there is still until today like a requirement, or not really a requirement, but it's preferred to meet face to face, to understand, to build this trust, to look into the eyes. It's a cultural thing, because even though you're buying an online service and you can buy it online, you still want to meet the person who's behind the screen. We had cases where we had some clients who would drive from Abu Dhabi to our office, which is in Sharjah. Actually, that's another Emirates. That's like 150 kilometers. So he would spend more time and money on fuel just to come to our office to pay for a domain name registration, or sometimes even a renewal. So you are our client already. I mean, there is no trust issue. Why would you come and pay me in cash for the renewal? And I wasn't even comfortable accepting cash, even though it was a small amount. But why would you give me cash? Because I don't want cash. I want it in my bank. So with COVID, all this has changed in such an extent that telling someone, hey, let's have a meeting, and you send someone a Google Meet or a Zoom link, became super normal. Back in the days, if you would send like a Zoom link to someone, they'll say, hey, what is this? I'm not showing you my face online. No, you want to meet me, come to my office. So book the meeting, book the appointment, drive there, look for parking. It was not really a waste of time, but it was not so productive. We like things to be done so quick, so fast online. This is why we can scale companies online really easy. And it is very important to have this, advantage.
It is very important. Thank you, Munir. Paige, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, as we get into 2023 and now 2024, the post-COVID and COVID becomes the status quo, and you say, what's next? And I think, I'll be doing 2 conferences, one in October, December, January, not making it to Dubai right now, but in a world that's virtual, having the time to have the personal connections at a conference can make a real difference. Because first of all, most domain investors or people in domain industry, there may be one person around you within 40 miles that does what you do. And so just to be able to be in a room, I always tell people, where you don't have to spend the first 30 minutes of a conversation telling someone what you do. So that would be the people that are meeting in Dubai to connect that are already in the industry. But then for someone new to try to come in and get some perspective, I think you're right, Munir, they do want to build relationships. They don't just want to give you credit in 1 minute of a Zoom meeting that you're an expert. They want to explore discussions and shared experiences and just build a relationship that gives you this comfort before you say, hey, let's buy a big domain, let's sell a big domain, let's do a joint venture. So I think that the virtual and the work at home leads to a desire to see other people in person. And I think the conferences can play an important role.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I can also add on the importance of, the social media and, connections on social media. So believe it or not, but what I've achieved today, in the sense of building Domain Days Dubai. And again, just for the record, I'm not a person from the events sphere. I've never done events in my life. I love events. I attend events. I like to speak at events. I like to speak at shows like this one, online streaming and everything around it. But again, I've never done events in my life, and I've literally built Domain Days Dubai. It's me, my CMO, my chief marketing officer. His name is Jason, whom I hired through the process. I think he came 1 month later. But then everything else was built using the ready available tools, and these are the opportunities you have online. So for me, LinkedIn paid. They didn't pay me. They played the most important role in building this event, because I haven't been active on LinkedIn before. I would post once in a while, but I've been posting every single day. I even post now updates from my profile about the ticket sales, about the speakers, the moderators, and I managed to secure 80% of our sponsors that we have today and the attendees in the first 45 days of going live. And just for the record, we went live on the 5th of July official, like our website went live on the 5th of July. And the next morning I woke up and I didn't believe, what I saw in my email. I saw, okay, congratulations, you sold 1 ticket. And I'm like, how? Who's that person? I want to know. How did you find me? Why did you pay me money? Do you really see value in the event? And this is the true power of these connections and social media. But of course, there are many things behind the scene. And the main thing is face-to-face meetings. So of course, I traveled the world. I've been to so many events before building my event. I would pitch the event to people, try to hear feedback, see if it's worth doing it, if there is demand for it or no, and just believe in yourself. And here we are.
That was very inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing, Munir. It seems like the sky is the limit. And you've always been optimistic about the future of the domain industry. Where do you see the next wave of innovation or growth coming from?
Well, in the domain industry specifically, of course, if we talk about the future or the next wave, I mean, everyone is anticipating the next round of the new GTLDs, which I think will happen end of 2025, 2026. So ICANN is yet to confirm the exact dates, but I think there is lots of mistakes that were done in the past in the new GTLD rounds, and then there is lots of opportunities also available for potential applicants and for companies to join this round. But again, here we're talking about classic domain names, but I also personally believe there is great opportunities in the Web 3.0 sphere, right? And this is why I've added the Web 3.0 field into, as a core component of our event, because I believe it's important, it's innovative, and there is lots of, interest from the younger generation into all these, NFTs, blockchain, all these cool keywords. So I believe there is lots of potential. It's just that there are also too many providers popping up. So I believe the strongest players and the most important professional players that are trustworthy will stay in this field and work together hand in hand. So we will see, that's where I see the market. We will see a hybrid model where Web 2.0 and Web 3.0 will live hand in hand. And it's like, sometimes, you get a business card and you have like a sales email and you have a personal email. And sometimes you send an email to both emails, right? And it ends up usually in the same mailbox anyway. But it's the same thing. You might have an address, a Web 2.0 address, and the Web 3.0 address on a business card or on a digital business card. I think that's where we are headed.
I love how you're envisioning it. Thank you. So, Paige, how do you see the future of Web3 domains, building on what Munir was saying?
Well, it's been interesting for me as an old time domainer, an old school, an old head, whatever you want to call it, because I first got into new TLDs or non-ICANN TLDs 20 years ago. We built a system called new.net. When I didn't get my .kids from ICANN, I had to seek elsewhere. So the idea of something different has been around for a while. But I think, the blockchain and the Web3 and people's trust in this thing called a wallet. What? I've got a wallet that just exists virtually in my browser, and I'm going to put my assets in it, or I can, keep it in cold storage. But I think for me, it's the Web3 domains. You can be responsive. You can start a project. You can run it. You can learn. You can see if it's going to be successful. So it's kind of a market-based approach to bringing about domain names, as opposed to a bureaucratic top-down. ICANN gives out the domain name, and then those companies try to leverage their monopolies to make those domain spaces valuable. And I think the Web3, which you've got, is something that goes out to the marketplace, trying to find its way, and hopefully the most successful projects, like Munir said, will succeed, and the other ones kind of die of natural selection. You know what I mean? So the ones that succeed and the ones that are left, it'll be because they did connect with especially the younger generations who don't have the prejudices that we had before. Then the way I think about domains in general, just to finish up, I've got a new analogy I'm working with, which is if I look at my house and I have trees, I have big oak trees, and that's like the big existing .coms. I don't have to go water my oak trees. I don't have to wonder if my oak trees are going to live or survive. But then maybe Web3 is like my little garden, where I've got little seeds inside of little pots. And those do take energy and effort. And I don't know what they're going to be when they grow up. And so I think there is room to be diversified. And then the last thing that Web3 does is it opens up spaces for new entrants. Would you rather be the 150 millionth .com name registered, or it's like looking at a ticket office for concerts. You got this line that's a little shorter. Well, I don't know if that concert's going to be good. I don't know if these Web3 spaces are going to work, but at least I'm going to have a much better seat at the table or a much better place in line. And so I think that's how I try to diversify.
That was a beautiful analogy. Thank you, Paige. Munir, as an entrepreneur and an industry leader, what advice would you give to budding entrepreneurs and domain enthusiasts like myself? I would like to know if you had any difficulty starting a bit. Oh, okay, we actually touched on this. If you had any difficulty starting a business in Dubai, especially when what you mentioned about domains.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't consider myself like the smartest person in the room or the smartest entrepreneur or a leader, even though I try to be one, right? Because I always try to stay humble. And I believe there are lots of entrepreneurs that, pop up out of nowhere and, they go, they hit the sky too quick and also fall down. So I believe in organic and natural growth initially, and I always try to think about it. What can you do with a minimal investment? So, you don't need to take a $1 million loan to start a business from the bank. You always have to think, whenever you're thinking about a new business idea, is like what you can do with the resources available to you right now. If you have $1,000 in your bank account, or you have $10,000 bank account, or you have a friend who runs the venture capital who can help you, that's also good. So just be humble and make sure the idea that you are building, it actually it doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it actually solves a problem which the consumers face in a more unique way. Because one way or the other, there are so many providers, so many solutions that all do the same thing, is just looking at a different angle of a solution. So the key thing is to stay persistent. It's a long journey. I mean, I was 15 when I mentioned initially during this chat, when I started my curiosity into the World Wide Web, right? And then today I'm 34 and I still feel as young, as energetic, because the field is growing and developing at a much faster pace, right? So I'm trying to catch up, with so many technologies coming up. So the advice, again, is very simple. It's just, if you believe in yourself, if I did it and he did it and she did it, why can't you do it, right? There is absolutely no difference. We all have 24 hours. And then, there are lots of people and lots of influencers on YouTube, on Instagram, who keep on giving you advice without them having anything behind them. And then, unfortunately, most people fall for such influencers just because they have like 1 or 5 million followers. They believe they are trustworthy. I think you should take baby steps initially and take it easy. It's much simpler than it seems to be. It's just that you have to believe in yourself, be persistent, continue doing it. Try knocking all the doors. One door will eventually open for you. And then make sure, initially you package and you structure your startup, your business, your website, your mobile app, whatever you are building, correctly, in a sense that, choosing the right legal entity type or infrastructure or country where you incorporate, there is any IP rights protection like trademarks and patents and so on. So all these, of course, might sound a bit crazy when you are 15 or 20 years old and you will say, no, I'll do it later. And I also did some mistakes, but it's nice to prepare yourself and to read and to self-educate yourself, to be aware about everything around it. So what I would do back in the days, I would attend events and attend conferences. And again, thanks to me being in Dubai, there have been so many events happening. I would go to events about food manufacturing, about aviation, about oil and gas. I was just curious about everything, and I would, take bits and pieces from everywhere and then formulate my own opinions about different things and how business is done. So I know it's a very broad answer that I've gave, but at the end of the day, it's very simple. It's believing in yourself, persistence, and passion, of course. If you don't like what you do, and I think the most common outcome of someone hating his 9-to-5 job is starting their own business, right? And this is a very common analogy nowadays. So because when you don't like something, when you don't feel comfortable, and you have this passion, this light burning inside you to do something better. And look, it took me a really long way. I'm not saying I went from where I was, 15 years ago to up to the level I am today, but it's a long journey. But I really, really enjoyed every single day and months and year of this journey. It's fun, and my family grew along with me, my parents, now my wife, my kid, my friends. So still same faces, but you can see the evolution in people and also in your product, which is, I think, beautiful thing. And about difficulties in Dubai, so I would say it was, of course, much more difficult starting a business back in the days, just like in many other countries. There were not so much knowledge online. You couldn't Google things and understand the legal framework. And in the UAE, we also had lots of changes, in the legislation and the company rules and the company ownership, where who can own a company, who cannot own a company, where to incorporate, because we have so many cities or emirates or the so-called free economic zones. And, it's hard to navigate initially. And then, you might go and listen to some company setup specialists. Not all of them are trustworthy. They would just want to benefit from you and sell you something from where they earn a commission. So I believe the difficulties are same like everywhere else, but that's the opportunity. You have to read more, dig into the data, and then make the best choice for you. And there is nothing bad about doing a wrong decision, because not taking a decision is also a decision, right? So you rather do a wrong decision, you learn from it, and you fix it later. So that's my take on it.
Thank you so much for sharing. You've said a lot of inspiring things. Stay humble, stay persistent, and stay curious. Thank you so much. On a personal note, how do you stay updated with the rapid changes in the digital realm that we're in? And who or what inspires you?
Okay, so you just answered that in your last comment. Is staying curious. I would like to be all over the place. I like to read news, so I don't read news to go deeply or emotionally into a subject. I like the surface news. Just headlines, highlights. Just see what's happening. What are the main events? Try to stay away from all the nonsense like politics and all the stuff, because I'm not a politician. Why should I worry about politics, right? As long as everything around me is good and safe. So maybe it's a selfish position, but again, I have a mission and a vision, right, of building a business. So I'm really focused on that, and I'm persistent on that. So I don't want to be distracted by things. But yeah, I believe today everything is online. With all the evolution that we have with Chat GPT and all these AI tools, I mean, even if you struggle in a topic or a subject, just go and search for it online. Trust me, when I started my company, and many millions of other entrepreneurs did, all this data that didn't exist. I mean, it existed maybe printed somewhere in some textbook at the library, but we were too lazy to go and search for the book. So you have to leverage the opportunity. We live in the era of data. So much data is available, and everything is accessible. If you'll be the most lazy person if you don't leverage that. Sorry.
Everything is truly out there. Thank you, Munir. Paige, what about you? How do you stay up to date in the domain world?
That's a great question. There was a book written 30 years ago that had the pinnacles and the things in management that you should do. And one of them was called Management by Walking Around. And it basically said, to get a real feeling of your company, sometimes you can't just stay in the office. You need to walk around. You need to pick up stuff. I equated to what Munir said about getting an overview of the news. I still think old media has a place where you can flip through a newspaper and just pick up a topic or a word or something. And as a domainer, we're drawn to that. What's something new? So for me, it's just trying to be aware of as many news sources as I can be. And I was thinking about the conference. One of the things that can happen at a conference, like if you're having breakfast or a social time, or you're just listening into a conversation, is you start hearing words and you start hearing things. Or maybe it was about like what entity to selection to have when you're setting up your business in Dubai. And then all of a sudden it gives you the opening to say, you know what, I had trouble because my representative didn't do this. And it creates these openings to ask questions, and to make connections that are really helpful. So I stay on top of that in terms of different chat rooms and different people that are out there trying to share information. We have lots of newsletters and lots of blogs. We're at a unique time in the industry, and I won't take too much time on this. went to a conference in 2007, and one of the best presentations I ever heard. It was by the Seydu CMO at the time, and it was what to do in a bubble. Are we in a bubble? And we were in a bubble at that time in domains. And it talked about, and when you're in a bubble, you want to go along with the crowd. You want to be up to date with the crowd. It's a momentum play. You want to be able to track what's growing, track what's moving. But I think we're the opposite now. We're kind of at a time of calm, and no one knows what the current big trend is. No one knows what the current big thing is. So you have to investigate new things that the whole world may not be going toward, but they may be what everyone will be talking about in 2 or 3 years. So that's what I'm looking for now.
Thank you, Paige. I think it also falls under stay curious and following the news.
Yeah, Munir, how do I say stay curious in Arabic? Put you on the spot.
خليك مهتم على طول. يعني it's like always be worried and alert about something. So actually, yeah, I mean, curiosity is really a part of the the lifelong learning, because learning, they used to tell us in school and university, learning doesn't stop here, once you graduate and all this stuff. So we were always laughing at that, but now you realize, yeah, actually, things are changing around us. If we don't stay alert and we don't learn, and you will lack, and you'll quickly realize you are like kilometers away from everyone else.
Truly, learning is a never-ending journey. And our last question before answering some of the questions we are getting from the audience, how do you think Web3 can positively impact this industry?
All right.
Munir.
Yeah, this is a good one. And I think it's also what Paige said earlier. It's about the diversity and the opportunity that this field creates. Because if you think about the Web 2, there are certain, let's say, boundaries or limitations, right? In one way or the other, like the regulations and, the number of providers present, the regulators and so on. But when you look at Web 3, it's the wild, wild west right now, right? So it opens lots of opportunity and space for developers, for programmers, for, UI, UX designers. So it's basically the whole IT field that will benefit. So it's not necessarily about domain names, right? It's in general everything related to IT and everything that's on top of IT. And nowadays everything is powered and runs on IT, and this will remain for years and generations to come, unless there is some super duper AI or computer, which is again IT, right? So one way or the other. Yeah, it's literally the opportunity. And again, it could be opportunity like new namespaces, new extensions, new tools, new apps, new email apps, new communication apps. All these are just the tip of the iceberg, I believe. Again, I'm not an expert in Web 3.0 yet, but again, I'm curious about it. I'm reading, I'm following what Freename is doing, and I believe you guys have been achieved phenomenal results. And congratulations also on your recent funding, which has sent news through the industry. And I think this is exactly one thing that's happening, and that's one opportunity. Freename is a great example, and so there's room for more to come, I believe.
There is. Thank you so much, Munir. It's time for Q&A. Drop your questions and we'll get some on the screen. Let's start with the first one. From Marcus Schmidt. Hello, everyone. What do you know about domains now that you didn't know about at the beginning?
Okay, so shall I go ahead and answer? Well,
Go ahead.
back in the days when I was a registrant of domain names, like an end user, I believed I owned a domain name, but truth is you never own a domain name. You lease a domain name for the period of your, like 1 year, 2 years, and so on. I think this is the most common misconception. Until today, many people believe, hey, I paid like $20, it's mine forever. It's not yours. Just stop paying the renewal fee, and you quickly realize it's not yours.
Thank you.
Yeah, except in Web3 domains where Freenames don't have a renewal. So there you go. I think it's a great question. For me, I'm going to be a little deep when I answer this question. When I started in domains, I used to think it was a perfect market. Everything was logical, calculated. The best names were taken. Good names shouldn't be available. And what I realized, especially after doing some coaching and talking with a lot of investors, is really for a lot of people, buying a domain name, whether it's a good domain name or whether anyone else thinks it's a good domain name or not, the emotional satisfaction you get from knowing that you're in the game with an asset that you own, many times that's worth the 20 or 30 or 100 or even more, $5,000 that you pay as a collector to just have that chance, to have that power, whether it appraised at that or whether it made that. So sometimes when I do coaching with people, I ask them, are you investing, to make money? Not that you can't, but or is this just really a passion for you to have these opportunities, to have these chances at doing things in the future? And so that's opened my eyes to the many reasons that people buy domain names, not all of them specifically logical, like you were working for a company or at a trading desk, but it's really that power of mine. Mine. This domain is mine. You can tell me about it. You can tell me it's good. You can tell me it's bad, but it's mine. And so that's probably the one thing that I've learned over time.
Thank you. Now, I can't pronounce that, but how you think Web2 and Web3 domains can coexist?
Well, as I said previously, there will be a hybrid model. Remember my business card example, if you were on the show when I said it. So it's an alternative domain name. It's choice. It's more choice for the consumers, for businesses. Just like you showcase, your Telegram number, and sometimes you put in your WhatsApp number, or what was that? The other one in China, I forgot. Yeah, WeChat, number or username. It's just like that. It's just another network, so-called network or so-called channel where you can coexist easily. So that's really it.
What about you, Paige?
Yeah, I think they are coexisting. So right away, they are coexisting. Web3 domain names do not break the internet. The public root administered by ICANN is a worldwide global consensus public model. They have safeguards. It's a hybrid model. It's not all blockchain. You make a mistake with your auth code, you don't lose your domain. You can call your registrar and say, I can call Munir and say, hey, this transfer was fraudulent. Can you get my name back? There's safeguards. There's things that make it a hybrid model. So I think that's really good for the 99% of the domain names that are out there. And at the same time, if you're a smaller community, if you Munir wanted to be .domain days, he could build that out over the next 5 years and not have to pay $280,000 to ICANN, to only be able to market his domains through registrars if they wanted to market .domain days, to have to handle all kinds of regulations. Well, .domain days maybe will only have 1,000 to 2,000 registrations. So I think that there's room for smaller niche communities. And I think lastly, investing in Web3 domains for me helps me examine just what do I own in Web2. Just what makes a good domain name. Because Web3 is like a blank easel, you can have almost anything you want. It makes you ask the question, what do I want? And that makes you a better domainer, in my opinion. Even when you go back to buy Web2 domains, you've gone through these exercises of practicing. What would I get if I could own any TLD? And that makes you ask, what is a good TLD? So I think the development of Web3 alongside Web2, yes, they can both coexist. And then I'll leave it with this. Technically, they will be able to coexist. And if that's keeping you from Web3, I can't say much about it now until I can. But if that's keeping you from Web3, be aware that the future may change. So,
thank you, Paige. Here's another question. How many domains are on the TLD.ae? Heiki or Haki asks.
Heiki, yeah, I did mention that also. So I think it's 26,000 domain names, which makes the AE the largest CCTLD. CCTLD means country code, top level domain name in the region.
Thank you. Now on to the next question. What's the best domain you sold and for how much? Cryptic asks.
Yeah, I always get this question, and my LinkedIn inbox is filled, bombarded with messages. Hey, I have this domain name. I would like to sell it at Domain Days Dubai. Guys, I'm not a domain name, investor or broker, or we don't sell domain names. Our event is a not domain for sale event. So I did, of course, broker, or I would say co-broker some domain names, because it happens that I'm in the business of domain name registrations, and sometimes we also list premium domain names after market for sale. So naturally, I'm part of the equation, but I personally haven't owned or sold. I mean, I did have some domains back in the day, like some com AE domains and so on, but they were never really traded. I think some of them expired. I did sell like some of them, but it's not like I sold them. I just received an offer like through one of the marketplaces, and I didn't have anything fancy, nothing of that sort.
Thank you for sharing. Will the speeches from the event in Dubai be streamed live?
No, you have to come in person. That's the whole purpose. So it's an inaugural event. If we would stream it, then nobody would come in person. We just spoke about it. We want the real, and in our part of the world, we like face-to-face interaction. So we've been too long and too far away from each other post-COVID, and now events are back on track all over the world. So there is nothing that stops you from coming to Dubai. It's one flight away from most of the cities around the world. And no, we don't plan to live stream.
And Munir, could you talk to that? I'm in the US, we have other people in Asia, Australia. They may or may not be familiar with traveling to the Middle East, traveling to Dubai. They may be thinking, well, will I be accepted? Do I have to be aware of the customs and the culture? Could you just maybe speak to that for someone who hasn't been to Dubai before?
Sure, Paige. Actually, that's a very important, point you're raising here, and I'll be very, hopefully detailed in answering it. So, Dubai, again. So the country is United Arab Emirates. We keep on saying Dubai, Dubai, because that's the buzzword. That's the fastest growing megapolis city around the world. So the airport in Dubai is, I think, the second busiest airport in the world, maybe the first. We need to look at the latest data. So there are direct flights to 132 cities globally. Literally, you can fly from Dubai to Australia, like 2 or 3 cities in Australia. You can go to like 10 cities in the United States, from Florida to New York to Seattle to Toronto, Montreal. All these cities. You have London, you have Germany, you have Japan, Malaysia, everywhere, literally. And I think the longest flight, and I took that flight, was from Dubai to Toronto. That was like 14 and a half hours. I think they have a longer flight now, which is to Brazil, somewhere in Brazil. I believe it's like 15 and a half hours. But and that's the beauty. Look, I've built my personal connections and my circles by traveling the world. If I would go for an event, I would always mix business with pleasure, in the sense that I would go attend a meeting, meet people, but then spend 3-4 days extra exploring the new city, new culture, new food. I mean, this is a great excuse to escape from your daily routine. And trust me, you will enjoy the process. And regarding the cultural part, again, Dubai, United Arab Emirates, is made up of 90% expatriates, only 10% locals. It's a true modern, megapolis. Coexistence is at its core. We even have a ministry of tolerance here, ministry of artificial intelligence. So all those fancy, cool keywords are being used. And there's like a minister of AI, there's a minister of happiness. So it's a country which is actually built and made for people to come and visit and explore and build. It's in no way a country where, hey, we are here and it's all private and no, you shouldn't be coming. Absolutely not. It's actually open, and I believe it's one of the easiest countries to travel to, with there are no visas required, I believe, for majority of, let's say, our attendees who are coming to the event. Majority of them don't really need visas. You get visa on arrival or free visa. You just pass through the airport. It's super easy. We have like e-gates, smart gates. It's fully automated. It's super cool.
So what we see on our news feeds is that we're going to see Bentleys with tigers in them and people driving around. And so, but there's a normal. I know the venue is really nice and everything, but anyway, I had to get that in, kind of clickbait there.
Yeah, you have camels roaming around and horses running on the highway. Well, that actually happened during the pandemic. When everyone was at home, you had camels walking on the highway. There's like a great picture. But there are also I mean, the locals, some of them are extreme lovers of exotic pets, and they would keep tigers and I don't know, or snakes and spiders and all sorts of. I have a friend. He has a mini zoo at home. It's very dangerous to go to his home because he has like spiders this size and like snakes that are like I don't know, anacondas and I don't know what what they're called, but it's really creepy. But it's not really a common. I wouldn't say it's a common part of the culture. It's just that the social media hyped it, and lots of animal supporters, and there's lots of people who
Maybe
are like,
we actually need this
yeah,
like another live stream just talking about this.
yeah, we
It'll be
can. I
very
mean,
interesting.
there are so many memes and fun parts about the region on the social media. So if you go like on Instagram or TikTok and you search some of those popular like videos and memes, people make fun of so many things, and it's really true at the same time, and that's what makes it fun.
It is. Now, people, take your time to ask us any questions. These are the last 5 minutes where we're going to be taking questions. So let's bring someone up. Are there really solid gold bar vending machines in Dubai?
All right. Honestly, yes, I would say they were, because I know I've seen them personally. We have like the hotel, which is called the Atlantis Hotel on the Palm Island. That's not too far from where our event is taking place. It's on the same Palm Island, and I think so. Atlantis also exists in the Bahamas. There's a replica hotel of that, and they've actually placed a gold vending machine. You literally go there, pay with cash or a card, and there's like gold bars being vended. So, but honestly, I haven't seen those in a while, and it's been quite some time. So maybe it was a nice trend or another meme for social media, but I haven't seen it in a while.
And
Well, that makes
a
investing.
good domain name is so much easier to carry around than a bar of gold.
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
keep going, baby.
Such as
Sorry.
gold.ae, right?
Yeah, perhaps United Arab Emirates is the one of the best places for Web3 and Web2 domains to coexist.
Yeah, actually, I remember something I want to say at the beginning. So, and that's one of the opportunities. So, the local registry, what they've done is with the local domain name. So, the minimum number of characters is 2 in a domain name, right? So, like ab.e, for example. But the official portal of the UAE is u.ae. So, it's a one-letter domain name, which is super cool, because it's u.ae. And that's literally the official portal where you can read everything about the laws, the policies, the rules. And I think by this, and they were like having ads all over the place, like billboards and social media. So they kind of made people remember u.ae.ae. So this is what also pushed the domain name.
Thank you. Yes. Will you purchase TLDs like a server, domain days, or others? I think they're asking from like free name.
So from free name, yeah, Web 3.0. Well, it's definitely much more economic to do it on the Web 3.0 than paying, how much is it, Page? $300,000 for the next, or $400,000 for the new GTLD round, right? So I don't think it makes any sense to have .ae server. We've seen, well, on the new GTLDs, we've seen lots of .brand domain name applications where it left expiring and canceled, and McDonald's, Coca-Cola, they didn't really use their extensions. So I think we have to think outside of the box here, and perhaps yes, Web 3.0 is where this is headed, because the barrier to entry is much more economical. That's important.
Barrier to entry. Noted. How Web3 domains are perceived in the Middle East? Are they popular?
So I mean, I don't have really the exact data about the popularity, but I would say in the Middle East, everything related to blockchain, NFTs, and alt roots, Web 3.0 is all like under the same umbrella, basically. It's a buzz market right now. It's a hyped market. The whole world's crypto guys and the NFT guys are in town, and they are based here. Binance, for instance, has a local presence. They have a local HQ in Dubai, and I think a few more of the exchanges are here. So these exchanges bring with them their audience, right? So people follow them to be legally tied to this jurisdiction. And this, of course, brings everything else that's related, including the Web 3.0 domain names. So I've actually received a few inquiries on LinkedIn. Like a guy was like messaging me saying, hey, I own .dubai on ENS or one of the blockchains. I don't remember where was it, but there were like some keywords like .Middle East, .Arabs, .Arab, .Arabic, and all on the blockchain. So I don't know exactly where he or she was from, but definitely the volume of population, how to say it right? Yeah, I mean the amount of people that are aware about these technologies in a square meter or square kilometer of space in Dubai is much more than in other countries. I believe that's really true.
Hello, everyone. I have a question. What do you think of free name? I think they're asking Munir here.
Yeah, well, I already said I think it's a very cool and innovative company. I mean, I've been following, Freename and other companies in this space that are close or similar to Freename, and I believe the whole messaging. And again, I'm honestly saying this not because I'm here on this interview, and I'm always neutral. Those who know me know me. I'm very sometimes critical in my comments as well, but I've been following Freename for quite some time. I've seen them at events. I've met them at other events, and I've been on the website. I've seen that they announce something and they build on top of it. So many others did announce something that this is coming and this feature will be available. Nothing happened. But so far, what I've seen, I'm keeping a close eye on Freename, and let's see what else is going to happen in the next few months and years, and what's behind the scenes. But again, this market is growing rapidly. So companies like Freename, I believe, as long as they are persistent, they will achieve great results.
Thank you, Munir. Our last question. How did you develop your pricing structure?
Which pricing?
I'm gonna go and I guess. Would you like to answer the next question first?
Yeah, I think I'll speak to it to the extent that it might be about domains. It's hard to price domains. There's two schools of thought. One is don't put a price. Let someone engage with you. Find out why they want the domain name. Are they qualified to pay a high price? Who are they? Why do they want it? And then set a price for them. The other way to set prices is to say, I've got a bunch of domain names. I better sell some. I need to put a price tag on every one of them, list them on all the marketplaces. Hopefully each day or each month or each year, a certain amount will sell. I think the key thing is to pick one or the other and stick with it. If you pick one and you switch 3 months later, and then you switch 3 months later, and then you switch 3 months later, you may not get the benefits of your strategy consistently. You may just get the negatives from it. So to the extent that that may have been about domains, that's how I would probably answer it. I priced about 90% of mine, fixed price. I buy them for low. I wait till a buyer wants them. I sell them. I just got an offer while we're on our show. I just sold a name while we're on the show for $499. Not every name I sell is for $1 million. So I got a sale of $499. I got an offer of $3,000 on a name that I priced for $7,500. I'm going to say it's because of Munir and Beba that I got those offers. So come on the Freename weekly show and you will get offers for your domain names. How's that?
Thank you, Paige.
I love it.
It's
well said, Paige.
Last one. Just keep. How do you feel about SEO and its placement in Web3? Munir?
That's an interesting question. Honestly, I wasn't ready for.
I could probably take that one.
Go ahead.
I'll leave you with exotic farm animals in Dubai, and I'll take this one. How's that?
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I don't think there is SEO for Web3. I think you have to understand that in Web3, you're not making your money off others. You're not jumping in there and saying, how can I steal traffic? You're not jumping in there and saying, how can I get some action? You're more of a trailblazer. You're buying something and owning it and developing it yourself so you can own it in the future. And then you need to study how people can use SEO to get at the content you're creating. So I think it's a different space than showing up and saying, hey, I heard about Web3. How can I make money off everybody? Maybe that's what SEO is. Web3 is more trailblazing and pioneering, I think, than trying to apply some strategy like SEO.
Thank you, Paige.
Hey, it's been a great show. It's been a great show.
It has been amazing. Saiful Muni says Middle East will go online fully and will create huge demand of domain names. Thank you, Saiful.
Yes, thank you, Saiful. I believe it's the next booming market. It's already growing, and this is exactly one of the reasons I believe this year is the best time for us to launch the event. And again, it's just a few last notes. It's literally a community effort which we're trying to do. We wanted to build this community, and Dubai being the epicenter of the Arab world, business and tourism, is just logical to have the events in our space, and then we see how it goes. Again, it's, as I said, I'm not an events guy. I just decided to do this to bring the community together, and then it's an event for you guys, for you to build and develop. I'm just the platform to make it happen. That's really it.
Hey, Munir, I think today's a big day for buying tickets, isn't it?
Yeah, so today is actually one of the last days. Tomorrow is our last day of the sale. We did have a few phases of sale, and we actually extended this one, the one that was supposed to end in the last day of September, but we added like 6 more days because people are really buying tickets. It's great to see, because every ticket sale that we sell, I mean, this money goes into building the event. There's no way we're looking to, again, I keep on saying it, I'm not an event agency. We don't do money of events. So it just helps develop the event and set the further trajectory. And yeah, tomorrow's the last day to benefit from an advanced sale, and then it's gone. So you'll have to pay the full. And we have 150 plus registered, paid up attendees. It's all serious people with paid tickets, which means they really mean a lot in this industry, and they want to attend and build the industry. So
thank you, Munir. Thank you, Paige. And thank you, everyone who's tuned and joined us today.
Thank you, Beba. Paige, thank you. And I see you guys in Dubai very soon. Paige, maybe you still have time to come. So
it has been an enlightening conversation. And if you missed some parts of this podcast, you will be able to see the replay, which will be posted soon as the live ends. And remember to follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and join our Telegram channel. The link is in the first comment. And to visit freename.io to get your Web3 domain. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.